Okay, the dollar index for the week starting Monday, the 28th, September the 28th. Even though we had a big push or weakness in the dollar yen, but the dollar index as a whole is actually closed the week on a positive note. We closed the week at 77.01, and that closes above the structural point of September 13, which gave us the breakout and the beginning of the upward push to the upside, or the beginning of the bull move in the dollar back in 2008. Looking at the other pairs, you can see that the dollar had a reasonably weak close, or a slightly weak close against the Swiss, a weaker close against the yen, but it had a very strong close and had a strong close against the British pound. As you see that the British pound is declining, so all in all the dollar seems to be gaining some footing. And going back again to the dollar index, as you see, we have reversed prior to the prior week's low, and we closed above 2 weeks low, and we closed above the structural point. That would indicate that we can possibly have some continuous move to the upside, or the beginning of a short covering rally in the dollar. These are signs of strength, even though we had this big decline in the dollar yen. This is on the daily chart. You can see that for the last 2 weeks or so, we still have managed to close every week on a slightly positive note. This is the dollar index as a whole, and this would shape our trading decisions for the dollar in general. So we'll be looking for some sort of reversals for the dollar, coming based reversals in the dollar while we're trading the other currencies. The weakness in the dollar has manifested itself in the dollar yen and in the euro, but versus the other currencies it closed quite strongly. This is the dollar CAD. As you can see, we had a reversal week on the dollar CAD, closing near the high of the week, closing above last week's high and 2 weeks high. So that is an indication that there is buying coming into the dollar. In addition to the reversals or the slight strength that we can see in the dollar, if we look at the commodities, you would see that, for example, the crude oil has been declining. That also, it has an inverse relationship with the dollar, so that is a sign that there is some strength coming into the dollar. You can also see that gold has slightly began to close below the prior week's low, and it's sitting now at 2 weeks low, which is the 991.50. The actual close was 991.60, and we have closed on the gold below the 1011, which is an indication we might get a pullback in the gold. So the major commodities, or the commodities that have direct relationships with the dollar, have began to sell off. This is your silver. It's beginning to sell off. It is not yet a short in silver, but there is some liquidation coming in to the commodities that do have an inverse relationship with the dollar. Plus, what we have seen as some reversal signs in the most of the currencies versus dollar, except for the Swiss and the yen. So we should take that into consideration while we're looking at the dollar, and we will be marking our entry points to take our reversal signals if and when the dollar begins to move to the upside, so that we can capture any short covering rallies that's coming into the dollar.